Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. The channel's called Ratchet. My name's Andrew, and on this episode, we get this thing sounding like it should do. Run the title. Welcome to the channel if you're new. If you're not, thank you for tuning back in for yet another episode. So the whole purpose of this episode is to make this thing sound like a proper GT40. At the moment, it has got the original exhaust silencers fitted. Now, it sounds awesome, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have that proper sound that you associate with a GT40. With the bundle of snakes, the crossed over exhaust, it has such a distinctive sound. Now, by fitting these new exhausts that I've bought from Tornado Sports Cars, I'll put all the contact details below, it really enhances the sound, just create this absolute masterpiece of sound. So what I will be doing is giving you a walkthrough of the fitting, but before that, we need a start up of the car with the old silencers fitted. I'm then going to fit the new megaphone exhausts completely unbaffled. So that is going to be just completely straight piped. Then what we're going to do is then get into the removable baffle system that these silencers come with. Now, these silencers are incredibly well thought out in terms of the removable baffles, the fact you can tune them by wrapping varying amounts of insulation around those perforated baffles. And I will go into all of that in more detail when we get round to it. As always, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button should you want to continue to follow along with the evolution of this car. Leave me a comment below. I still enjoy reading what you guys have got to say about this project and how it's sort of shaping up and now evolving. I think that pretty much covers everything, so let's crack on with the video. So before we get to the startup video with these silencers, let me just give you a little tour of what they do look like. Now, these are the standard supplied Tornado silencers that come as part of their bundle of snake package. Now, they sound amazing. Higher up in the rev range, you know, 3,000 to 5,000 revs, this engine absolutely sings, but I can't help personally feel that it needs a little bit more volume. Straight pipes save lives and all of that good stuff. So what I had initially thought about doing was going very ghetto and just having a completely straight through pair of pipes made up. Now, after running the car with no silencers at all, it was just way too over the top and it really didn't sound particularly nice. So I approached Andy at Tornado because I knew he made this megaphone exhaust system, and here is one of the megaphones. Now, because I wanted to have these Cerakoted in the satin black to match the bundle of snakes, I asked Tornado if they were able to supply me a set just in the raw steel finish, which they did do. I then sent these down to Malvern Cerakote again, and they have come back looking absolutely superb. Now, the fitting of these is incredibly straightforward. The brackets that are pre-welded onto the megaphone bolt perfectly up to the mounting point on the back of the UM1. The length is perfect for clearing the rear clam where that opens up, so you don't have to worry about catching that on the rear clam. It really is just an incredibly well thought out product. And that's obviously teamed up with the removable baffle. You know, once this is wrapped with the insulation, that will slide into the back of the megaphone and it is held in place with a single stainless steel rivet. So should I ever want to remove these baffles and get really leery, I can do that just by drilling out that single rivet. I really couldn't be happier with how this has turned out, and I cannot wait to get them fitted to the car. So what I'm going to do now, get the car started up so you can hear what it sounds like before we start mucking around. So hopefully what you would have been able to hear is the fact it does actually sound pretty decent. I let it idle for a couple of minutes before giving it a few blips of the throttle, but that was up to around 4,500 revs, and it does have a real nice sound to it. But like I say, I think there's just a little bit extra that needs bringing to the party. So what I'll now do is remove those silencers, and I'll show you these megaphones that I'm going to be fitting. Unsurprisingly, things have manifested themselves slightly, and I've actually ended up removing 90% of the manifold, and I can explain why, because it does make sense, I promise. So what I had noticed when I first assembled the exhaust, putting the car back together, was I had a very small blow from one of the collectors on the passenger side. So it was annoying, and I knew eventually that the collector would have to come off. I'd have to clean up all of the joints and reseal it before reassembling. So now's as good a time as any to actually do that. So I've got the snakes off of the car in order that they came off. Passenger side is over there. I've got the joints cleaned up as much as necessary. So what I can do now is re-exhaust paste the collectors, get those loosely fitted, before then starting to fit up the new megaphones.
A few moments later.
I've got the bundle of snakes loosely assembled back onto the engine. There's a little bit of play in each of the pipes, which will help me slide the collectors over the end. I have got the collectors prepped with exhaust paste. Not too much, just a decent amount around the end of the individual pipes. So now what I can do is slide those on the end, tap them on slightly, and then get the megaphones on, dry at the moment, get those bolted into place. So then that'll let me align the collectors perfectly. So then I can go ahead and exhaust paste the megaphones and get those in position once and for all. So I'm hoping that makes sense. I'm hoping it goes according to plan, but there's only one way to find out. So I've got the megaphones loosely bolted into place now. So what I'll do is drop the clam, see how they're sitting in the rear aperture, make any tweaks to the position of them before finally locking down the bolt. That will then fix the silencers in place, and then I can go round on the manifold and do up the Allen bolts on the engine block to get everything tightened down.
Tomorrow.
So I've got the megaphones fitted and I have left the exhaust paste to harden. So that is basically how it sits. Now, annoyingly, the pipes haven't gone back exactly how they came off, so I do have some of the old exhaust paste visible, which is slightly frustrating, but you know, I don't think there was much that I could do about that, in all honesty. Maybe there was. Maybe I've just put it on not particularly well. Such is life, I guess. So what I'm going to do, because these are completely unbaffled, I'm going to start the car just to see how ridiculously loud this sounds. I'm expecting it to sound dreadful, but I want to hear it for myself. And then we're going to get on to putting some of the insulation around the baffles and start tuning that sound to something that I like. Oh my gosh, that sounded horrible, I think is for want of a better word. It was just way too much. Now, it's clear that I'd turned it up to 11 sound-wise without the baffles in there. I've obviously made the right choice by not going for complete straight pipes. So now it's time to start playing around with these baffles and get that sound tuned down just a little bit. So I've got one of the baffles wrapped. The kit comes with 3 lengths of the fiberglass insulation. So I left 2 of the lengths full length and then chopped the 3rd one in half. So you have 1.5 pieces per baffle, which makes sense to me. And this is basically how far it gets you down the length of the baffle. Now, where the megaphone tapers down, you can't actually wrap right to the end because it obviously wouldn't fit into the exhaust. So that is why this piece is left unwrapped, and also that then allows you to have easy sight of the rivet hole that I have drilled in the side of the baffle and then through into the side of the actual megaphone. So I'll get the second one done and then I'll slide them into the actual megaphones themselves, give it another start up and see what it sounds like. Now, certainly from where I was sat in the driver's seat, that sounded absolutely spot on. So I'm not actually going to bother with doing the half wrap and carrying out that little experiment because I was only revving that to just over 2,000 revs and the noise was just, you know, just getting to the point where it needed to be, you know, just having that rasp, having that sort of volume that I wanted to get from this exhaust. So I think it's first hit home run. So what I'm going to do now is get the rivets in the side of the megaphones to keep the baffles in place. Let me show you these baffles, how they do sit. And you can see just from the previous video how they just pushed in. And like I say, rivet in from the sides to keep them locked in place. But it's just a really nice, well thought out piece of design and kit from the guys at Tornado. So that's the exhaust buttoned up. Once I stood back and had a a good look at them. I noticed one of the tips was slightly lower than the other, so I need to muck around with that central bolt just to realign everything slightly. I think you can tell on a whole I'm really happy with how this has turned out, the kit supplied and the actual ease of fitting, and obviously the end noise. You know, I'm really happy, and I can't wait to get it out on the road whenever it decides to dry up outside. So that's going to be the real acid test, and I think it's going to be a video full of smiles when I am able to get out onto the road. In other news, my car is going to be at the NEC, at the Classic Car Motor Show. I think it's the second weekend in November. I'm going to be on the GT40 Enthusiast Club stand. So I'm personally going to be there for the Saturday and the Sunday. The car will be there, I think it's from the Thursday to the Sunday. So come on over, check it out, come and say hello, or just come and have a good dig around the car and see what you think, and actually see it in the metal and the fiberglass. So I'm hoping to bring you a video of that whole escapade. So if I don't make anything in between, keep an eye out for that video, and I will catch you next time.